Better late than never. Here we are, the NBA Live Before Lock Show, Showdown Edition, Heat and Celtics. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by the man you guys know as Rinpak. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Josh. How about yourself?
No complaints, no complaints. I thought I was going to have to produce this bad boy myself. Jordan behind the virtual glass was just blowing it for like 10 minutes, but luckily I was able to walk him into exactly what we needed. It was perfect.
So
I'm assuming he can't hear me either because he doesn't appear to be reacting to it.
We got a one-game slate. I mean, we have a lot of time to break down 10 potential players, if not more. I mean, it depends on how you drop these narratives for these showdown single-game slates. But what you think of that first game?
Amazing. We were talking about it before we went live. The block from Bam, I think, might be the best block I've ever seen. Clearly, the LeBron block, more important to the grand scheme of things. I think this is just like a bigger feat. The chase down block, in theory, going to be a little bit easier. The timing is harder. For Bam to stop Jason Tatum dead in his tracks is something that I didn't think would be even remotely possible. I don't know how he did it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's for me, it goes to Tayshaun Prince, LeBron, and this is right up there. I mean, I think the most impressive part was his offhand recovery of when Jason Tatum elevated, it looked like a for sure dunk, and boom, Bam saves the day, which was amazing, impressive. Got them to dub onto game two.
I mean, it wasn't even just like, oh, this is going to be a dunk. Like, he was going to snatch his soul if he gets that dunk. Like, he's dunking all over him. He's eating Bam is about to eat the entire dunk, and he stopped that fully. It's like the inverse of actually getting yammed on.
Yeah, well, if you guys thought Bam had a great dunk, hit that like button for us. Would greatly appreciate that. Stealing your lingo, but we got about around 30 minutes to break down a exciting game too. I think it's going to be another great series. I'm a big proponent. Just give me 7 games in every series. I don't care who really wins nowadays.
I agree.
I just want as many games as possible, more from a DFS standpoint and from a basketball fan standpoint. The more games, the more fun. And once you get to game 7, anything can happen. Clearly, what we saw with the Nuggets, that was also great. I mean, just the Clippers collapse was just like unreal. Paul George hitting the side of the backboard casually.
And then Jokic following that up with the over the top of the head pass, just to be as cocky as possible. I loved it.
That was great, and I hope they can make it a series against the Lakers. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow.
We will.
Well, let's talk about this Heat and Celtics game.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I have Jason Tatum locked and loaded right now with a prop from No House Advantage, the sponsor of this show. So they've got Jason Tatum at 35.5 points plus rebounds. I like Jason Tatum quite a bit today. He is the most owned captain as of right now. I think that is absolutely correct. The question is, do you think that he should be over or under 32.5 points plus rebounds?
I mean, let's look at the Jason Tatum box for what he's done. He's at 30 points, 13 rebounds, 29 points, 12 rebounds, 29 and 11. And the last game all the way, I think it was game 5 against Toronto, he was 18 and 10. So, I mean, that's a great Brad. The way Brad Stevens is letting him run 42 plus minutes the last 2 games out. Yeah. If they're going to get 40 plus minutes, I think that prop is you hammer that prop in. Take advantage of these promo codes early on. There's going to be an edge in these new sites that are coming around. It's a good way to keep that bankroll afloat before you head into NFL. It's good to have that bankroll for that.
It really is. You use the promo code Awesemo if you want to sign up at No House Advantage. You get a $20 free play on your first deposit of $20. And if you refer a friend, you get another $5. So you can't really beat it. One other prop for you I want to touch on, and then we could give our holistic thoughts on the Celtics. How do you feel about Kemba Walker over under 2.5 threes made?
I'll take the over. He took 9 threes last game. Oh. Yeah, I believe. I could be wrong, but
that sounds right.
He was ice cold. And leading into Kemba Walker, 6 of 19, 5 of 16 last 2 games out. 1 of 9 and 1 of 7. He's a better 3-point shooter than that. In my opinion, he is going to get going a little bit more earlier in the first half. He got a little going in the second half last game. He was being bit more aggressive. I like Kemba Walker for that prop and for DFS as well.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Celtics and sort of where their ownership is coming in for this showdown slate. Jason Tatum, the chalkiest play at captain. Kemba Walker is in double digits at captain. No one else from the Celtics is in double digits. Only other two people that are Butler and Bam. Then on the flex side, it's sort of just like 45% ownership for basically everybody that has a pulse. Tatum, Brown, Walker, Smart, all in the 40s in ownership. Theis at 26.5. And then you start getting into the weird stuff like Brad Wanamaker and Robert Williams. So who stands out most to you, whether it's at captain, whether it's at flex? What do you like from Boston today?
I'm going to like Kemba Walker. 8,200. I know he's $400 more than Dragic on Miami. He's coming at 7,800. I like Kemba quite a bit for my captain and my point guard. I'm finding a way to make sure to get him in there. And personally, if I were to build one lineup, I think I would get different from the field and roll with Kemba at captain. Is probably the way to differentiate yourself in these showdown slates where the recency bias is through the roof. The amount of recency bias that are in these showdown slates is pretty crazy.
You ready for this? Kemba Walker, second best odds of being the top captain in my sim, only behind Jason Tatum.
How close?
Not close.
Not close. Okay.
Not close. But in the grand scheme of things, like it's a slightly better play relative to public ownership. They're both slightly over their public ownership, but Kemba quite a bit more given he's at half of the ownership of Jason Tatum. So it's in line with public ownership, but they're both, I think, at least a little bit under owned. So I really like the Kemba shout. Number two guy for me in the sim. So I'm with you there. I do like him more than Dragic at the flex spot. I think Marcus Smart's probably going a little over-owned. He's at 42% right now. I had his sim odds a little bit lower than that. But I think we need to transition to the guy that was the absolute hero of game one for Boston. Well, would have been the hero. I don't know if you could have a hero if you lose, but he certainly tried to be. What do we get out of Brad Wanamaker today?
He put up, I want to say 38 FanDuel points because he racked up 5 steals. Yeah. And that was like the most upside Brad Wanamaker game that I've seen ever. I mean, the amount of times Brad Wanamaker chalk has busted in our lives. And to do that on a 2-game slate and people coming in at like, I want to say less than 5%. I'm gonna take my chances and fully fade Brad Wanamaker this time out. Yeah. He's coming in. What's his ownership? 20%?
20% right now.
Yeah. So I mean, there's another option in Kendrick Nunn, who's $800 cheaper than him, who got, I want to say, minutes in the teens last game.
He did.
Yep. 13 minutes for Kendrick Nunn. I know it's not the greatest matchup, but those $800, you can do quite a bit on a showdown slate. And that ownership discount, I will take my chances with Kendrick Nunn over Brad Wanamaker. Just pivoting from recency bias and pivoting from what I don't think is 20% worth of him doing what he did last time.
Kendrick Nunn, 7%. I love that call.
He doesn't need to do what he did last time. Don't get me wrong. But I just pivoting purely on ownership, and I've seen Kendrick Nunn ball out, so I'd rather take my chances with Nunn.
I have them with similar odds of being a needed score at the flex spot today, but you get Kendrick Nunn at 7% ownership. That's a real way to get different in showdown, and you don't really have a ton of those options. Given the way that ownership is currently set up, someone like Kendrick Nunn, or I don't know how you feel about Grant Williams or Semi. Those are the guys that are actually picking up very little ownership, but you would expect them to play somewhere between, 8 to 16 minutes, depending on how well that rotation is working. But I really do like that Kendrick Nunn shout out.
Speaking of Grant Williams, Daniel Theis did fall out last game, and he came in instead of Robert Williams. I believe that happened in the fourth quarter. And
overtime. Grant Williams played like 4 of the minutes of overtime.
Yeah. So now this becomes an interesting question. Do you prefer Grant Williams to Robert Williams?
Oh, God. I think they want it to be Robert Williams. Like the dream scenario is that he goes out there in his first rotation and looks good or gets something done and isn't making mistakes defensively. I think that if he doesn't look good, if the Heat go on a run, if he's just getting destroyed in the pick and roll, I think they switch it to Grant Williams late. But I think they want it to be Robert Williams to start, which I know isn't really like a helpful answer.
Yeah, no, it's tough just because I would have been more confident just saying Robert Williams if he did come out for that fourth quarter, which he in overtime, which he didn't.
Yeah.
Which makes it tough. Grant Williams is not the greatest like fantasy producer, but that price tag, if he were to crack somehow 15 minutes and get you, we've seen 10 points from a player who just win you a showdown slate at his price before. So
yeah,
I'm willing to take a shot with Grant Williams, but nothing that excites me incredibly that much.
He didn't grade out well in the sim, but
Yeah.
he did come out right around where his ownership is. So I don't mind having a small share of him. I do prefer going to Nunn. Semi for the flat minimum. That's a 6% thing right now. It's the only way to really get different unless you want to go and pay significantly up to Kelly Olynyk or Andre Iguodala, both guys projected for 7% ownership, but they're 3,800 and 4K combined. That's kind of tough.
That's tough. I mean, what do you project Semi Ojeleye to get? I mean, it's like 6 points tops, cap a ceiling of 7.
That sounds about right. Let me see what I actually do have him for. 5.3.
Yeah. So, and he's more than capable of just getting you a 0 or a 5.3. But
yeah,
it's ridiculous as it sounds. There is like, if your lineup uses a full salary and everyone else in that lineup hits the upside, 5.3 might be enough. It's just how ridiculous showdown and single game slates are. Yeah. But I'm trying to avoid trying to roster Semi Ojeleye. There is an option where
as you
can
should.
Pivot that to Derek Jones Jr., who did play 6 minutes last game.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with him.
That's it's just another option where you could pivot to Derek Jones Jr., but it's not that I'm overly excited to play Derek Jones Jr. over Semi Ojeleye. If your lineup is coming down to that, I would try to reconfigure it where you feel a little bit more comfortable. But if you like the rest of the guys and you're building one lineup, if you want to win it all, I don't mind just coming down to those two. Say shot in the dark.
Yeah, look, if you're trying to get like not duped a lot in a large field showdown, you getting to guys like Kendrick Nunn is essential. Or I don't want to say Semi's essential because that's not what I mean, but like you're going to chop with 300 people if you're not going to go any further down than Duncan Robinson. It's not going to be all that. And if you don't have the nuts, then you're not even hitting anything of substance if you're getting, you have the second best lineup and you finish 307th.
Very common decision point is coming down to Marcus Smart versus Goran Dragic. For me, it's very close. There's a slight price difference of $200, I want to say, where Goran is priced a little bit more. I have them projected very similarly. I've been going back and forth for the last hour on how should I make that final decision. Who do you have projected for more?
In terms of raw points, I have Dragic at 32.4. I have Smart at 31.2. Dragic showed up in the sim like 1.5% more than Smart. They're basically equal relative to their salary. It's a really tough spot. I guess I lean a little bit more towards Dragic at the flex spot because he has a hair more ownership. But honestly, it's a full coin flip for me. The fantasy points are basically the same gap for the salary. The sim results are basically the same gap for the salary. The ownership is essentially the same. I don't really have a lean between the two. So I'm no help there.
No, that's fair. I mean, I have Smart slightly above, and that obviously changes the outcome of my crunches. So if you were to just minorly change those players, it changes your whole ownership by quite a bit. So that's a decision point where I'm struggling with going down a little cheaper in Tyler Hero, who almost had a triple double. and he just missed out by an assist, which is really impressive from a player like him. I've been impressed by him. I didn't think much of him when he came out of Kentucky, but
Same.
these Kentucky players over and over show how versatile they are as soon as they come out. So they yet again have proved me wrong. But what's your take on Tyler Hero?
He might be my least favorite play of the day.
Yeah. So
coming in very low in the sim. He's at 31% ownership right now. I'm quite a bit under that mark. 7K is a lot in the flex spot for him.
Oh yeah.
He did get a little bit of benefit from Duncan Robinson's foul trouble. Like, he's going to play north of 30 minutes, barring his own foul trouble for sure. But he did get the ability to be out there a little bit more just because Duncan Robinson picked up 2 immediate fouls, then came in for his second stint and picked up a foul in like 30 seconds. Wasn't great. That doesn't necessarily mean that like Tyler Hero is going to suddenly play 48 minutes because Duncan Robinson's in foul trouble, but it firms up the ability that if it doesn't allow Duncan Robinson to get hot and stay out there. I figure he plays, 32, 33, somewhere in that neighborhood of minutes. I just think he's going a little over-owned for that particular price. I'm not entirely sure that he should be that much more expensive than Crowder or Theis.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Right now, he's like in the Wanamaker boat where I'm just trying to like that super upside game. I'm just hoping it doesn't happen, and I hope I can jump the field just by fading those two guys if they're going to come in at those respective ownerships. Now, someone who was really disappointing last game in terms of just racking up the fouls real quick, his liability on defense is Duncan Robinson, priced 4,800. It's a tough price point.
He picked up 2 fouls in the exact same possession. Swatted Marcus Smart, I think it was Marcus Smart, across the face, and then on the inbounds immediately fouled again. He picked up 2 fouls before the clock even ran.
Yeah, he's phenomenal 3-point shooter, but he's a terrible, as good of a 3-point shooter as he is that bad of a defender. And I don't know what his minutes are going to look like if they keep attacking him on defense. Spoelstra won't be hesitant to pull him out. Now, I'm right now he's also not showing up for me quite a bit, but he has that upside of knocking down 10 3-pointers in a game. He's done it before, so I'm just not going to be willing to take that risk, more or less. Those minutes are very dicey ever since that Milwaukee overtime game. They've been really dicey.
I'm with you there. I think that he has an easier opportunity to provide excess value at his salary compared to Hero, but I don't think that either of them are in a particularly good spot. Like I have Duncan Robinson less than his projected ownership right now, so it's not a direction that I really want to go. But at the very least, he's 4,800, and that makes him a little bit more appealing. I would just rather split the difference for both of these guys and go to Theis. Hope that he can at least mildly stay out of foul trouble, or at least, not just immediately pick up fouls every time he steps on the floor. 6,600, he would be the guy that I would be looking to go over the field on in that like high 6, low 7 range. Are you looking at Theis at all?
I have some Theis. I have more Theis than Tyler Hero right now, so I like him in that standpoint, just of that price point. Theis is interesting in the sense last time he played a ton of minutes, wasn't very involved in the offense like he was in the Toronto series. Shot attempts came down. I do expect maybe a slight uptick in those shot attempts, more rebounds, those Tatum rebounds maybe falling to Theis this time around. Yeah. So instead of getting 15 points, I can see him getting the 25 this time. It's just grabbing a few more rebounds, maybe a put back here and there. And that changes the whole trajectory of his fantasy point production. I like Theis quite a bit. He, for some reason, is not the greatest captain option for me right now, as I prefer Kemba quite a bit.
Same.
But that's where I'm falling in right now. So I don't mind Theis in that utility standpoint. I don't mind Theis also on FanDuel where those blocks are worth more.
Yeah, Theis in the captain spot only showing up there for me like 2.7% of the time. We've got him owned 2% of the time, so nothing too crazy. What we do need to talk about is the second most owned captain behind Jason Tatum, and that's Bam Adebayo. 13-2 at captain, 17% owned right now. I think he's going too owned for the captain spot. I would rather get to a slightly less owned Jimmy Butler at the captain spot, but I think I would rather have neither one of those guys. I'd be more likely to get to like Dragic at captain. What do you want to do with Bam? Obviously the hero for Miami in the last time. Not the Tyler hero, but the game hero.
Yeah. I like Bam at captain. There's a couple builds that I like him in the sense where it lets me fit in like the Boston players, and the Boston minutes to me are a little safer as it's a playoff Western Conference series. They've been playing 40 plus consistent minutes,
Yeah.
and those extra minutes do matter in terms of those final fantasy points. These showdown slates come down literally to the final rebound that can
Yeah.
change the whole slate. You can go from first to like a thousandth in a blink of an eye. So it's really important to just like, all right, trying to pinpoint your lineups. All right, is there a way that Jalen Brown gets there and in that price range does he outperform the other people in that price range? So Bam Adebayo gets me builds with Tatum and Brown, which I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I like him in the flex spot. I think he grades out perfectly there. I think he is a bit overowned in the captain spot for right now. We've got 14 minutes until lock. 488 viewers, 80 likes. Let's get that number over 100. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up if you can, because we've got some goods for you. Free content for today. We've got an NFL Showdown live before lock coming up a little bit after this. Our NFL Showdown projections are free today. If you're playing this Showdown slate, our NBA ownership is free today. So go check that out. You've got 14 minutes to go. We've been talking about it on the show, but you can go check it out for yourself. And then if you're playing MLB, I think you have 14 minutes left. I have no idea what time MLB lock is today. The top pitchers tool is free, which I mentioned earlier today on our MLB strategy show. So tons of free content as per usual. Go check everything that we have out. Showdown projections for NFL, NBA ownership, and the top pitchers tool.
Yeah, definitely check out those free tools as I'm the one who chooses which day they're free at. I've been trying to make sure that we spread across our product to let you guys who are not behind the paywall to experience that. So make sure to check those out and stay tuned for different types of products that Alex are going to be releasing and new stuff that's going to be shown to you guys in the near future.
We've got a player prop for Jimmy Butler from No House Advantage. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
19 and a half points. It was 20 and a half in game one, I might add.
19 and a half points. What does Alex have been projected for?
Doesn't
Alex
that immediately
no
sound ridiculous? Like, you just assume that Jimmy Butler's points, like, if you weren't really like paying attention, you'd be like, oh, it's probably like 28. But that's just like not the way that he plays.
No, he's the first one to pass the ball, be very like making sure to get his teammates involved and whatnot. So Jimmy Butler's a different player in Miami, and it's been the difference of why they're in the conference finals. Alex does have no house advantage projections, so make sure to check those out. I honestly, that's tough. I mean, he gets going in the fourth quarter. He could literally have 6 points heading into the fourth quarter and drop 20.
Yeah. Yep.
We've seen that in multiple games so far. So that's a tough one. I have no inclination one way there. It's a pretty solid line just because he's being more willing to be sharing the ball around.
I have him at 20.4, so I guess I like the over. We have another heat prop, though. The final other heat prop to look at. It's going back to Bam Adebayo. 25 and a half points plus rebounds. I have him at 26.2. So even though I'm not loving these guys in the captain spot for Showdown, I do like their overs in their props for No House Advantage.
Yeah, and that's something that as sports betting gets more and more popularized and legalized, is I'm trying to get more into setting these lines for props, and they do go hand in hand with DFS and whatnot. And just taking advantage of Alex's projections should help you. So yeah, I like that again for Bam. I mean, it's a solid prop. It's a fun site. Definitely going to be looking to play more of that site during the finals potentially.
This should come as no surprise. Dragic, Duncan Robinson, Butler, Crowder, Bam, starting lineup for the Heat. Celtics, Walker, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Theis. So no changes. Not that I was really expecting to see any changes for this game. We've got 10 minutes left. I think it's time to open it up to questions, unless you have anything else that you want to touch on. Anybody that you are focusing on that maybe we didn't talk about?
No, I think we've covered everyone really on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm willing to take other shots on MVP besides Tatum. I like getting a few MVP Bam shares, a few Jalen Brown shares, and more importantly, Kemba Walker MVP shares. And don't forget Jimmy Butler. I think you have to get MVP right for your chance to win on FanDuel. And just taking like if you were building like 5 lineups, I would be willing to sprinkle that around, especially for a matchup with these two teams where they can really different people can strike an upside and be that top scorer.
Hero as captain, a reach? Question mark. I don't love it.
I'm not a big fan of it. If you played him last time, it clearly worked out for you. And I'm just hoping he doesn't go for another triple double. It's my reason why. So I'm not that interested in Tyler Hero captain at all.
Okay. Let's see what else we have. Theis and Robert Williams together. I don't have an issue with it in Showdown.
No, I don't have an issue with the Showdown because yes, obviously I mean, Williams and Theis won't share the floor together, but yeah. I don't mind it. It's just if Theis' salary works out for that lineup, go for it. So
yeah. Let's see what else we have. Brown or Dragic, better game?
Better game.
I mean, I assume I have Jaylen Brown projected for more fantasy points. I do by 5.5. So got to say Jaylen Brown in that case.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Jaylen Brown as well. But yeah, Dragic has shown he has that upside as he showed last game out, put up 46 fantasy points. So it was a pretty impressive game from him. He's been impressive this whole playoff run of Miami. So he's a free agent if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting where he ends up.
I think he has a player option. I could be wrong.
Oh, he's a player option. Okay.
I think so.
I remember there was a trade with the Mavericks that fell through where he was going to go to Dallas with Kelly Olynyk, and others were going to come back to Miami. When I was like, oh, they're going to team up. They're both from the same country and have some chemistry for a long time together. So wouldn't shock me if he ends up there.
Yeah. Instead, they ended up doing the Whiteside trade and then the Winslow trade as well. Or it wasn't going to go down like that was, but then they were able to pick up Myers Leonard, and he ended up starting for them for the entire season. Craziness. Or for most of the season, at least. Craziness.
Insane.
How much money can you leave on the table? We also had the question of how much salary is too much salary to leave on the table. There's like barely a limit as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, don't be like ridiculous, like in the sense like you're like leaving enough money where you can pay up for Jimmy Butler and you go Semi Ojeleye, instead of him. Yeah, that's like, I would never do that. And like
the most I have is 2,000 right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if you can see, if you are willing to, let's say, do the drop off from Duncan Robinson that'd be the difference of Duncan Robinson to Robert Williams. If you think Robert Williams can strike an upside, that can happen. So that's like the how you can get different with yourself. And people are always hesitant to leave money on the table. And that's one of the few edges that are in Showdown, being very unique with your salary builds.
So here it is. I'll even give this lineup out while we're on here. 48,000 spent on DraftKings. Jason Tatum at captain. So even the chalky is captain. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo. Fine by me.
Yeah, that works.
It doesn't have anything. No egregious semi stuff. I have one that's at 48-1. That is Dragic at captain, along with Robert Williams, Theis, Kemba, Jaylen, and then Jason Tatum. Don't love that one as much, but I do like the Jason Tatum captain one, leaving 2,000 on the table. That should be a relatively unique lineup.
Yeah,
all things considered.
Definitely. And like, just like if you were to project some sort of blowout in this game, which I haven't done, try to get, if you want to really take it down, a solo showdown, like. You can get creative by that. Just like having okay, let's say the Celtics blow out the Heat. Does like what changes in the projection? Like, do you not play Bam now? Do you now play guys who've gotten there in blowouts before? Like you'd be willing to be more safer with the guys who are cheaper on the Heat, so their prices pay off easier.
Let's see what other questions we have. When will Miami versus Boston game 2 start? 7, I guess, right?
Yeah, in about 5 minutes. So make sure your lineups are ready, set, and go. Like, that's well, you should just make sure nothing weird is showing up in your lineup builds. So
you guys should do 2 things: make sure your lineups are in before lock, and hit the thumbs up if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, please hit that like button. One guy that we kind of passed and not overlooked, we haven't really talked about it much, is Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just like a price tag for me. It's just not working out this time around. Not getting much. He's in the Tyler Hero and I want to say he's in that 68 in
Yeah.
between Tyler Hero, Dragic, Marcus Smart range.
Yep.
And
I'm not a fan. I would rather go to Theis or up to Smart. I don't like that Hero Crowder combo.
do you like Tice over Crowder straight up?
Yeah. Yeah. Crowder more ownership as well right now. If I look at their projections, Theis 25-8, Crowder 24-2.
Okay. And that's like another decision point where people who are the casual players who are just looking without an optimizer will probably coming down to as well.
Yeah. We got
There
a
are no
question.
really.
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was like no really bold takes. I mean, maybe a little slightly above. I mean, maybe I prefer Nunn to Wanamaker is probably like a big stand in not having much Tyler Hero is what I'm coming down to for this slate.
Speaking of Wanamaker, I think this is going to be an answer here potentially. We got the question from Will McAllister. Thoughts on any low-cost guys who are viable in cash on DraftKings Showdown tonight? First of all, you're a savage for playing Showdown cash, but I think that the lowest you could go is either Wanamaker or Williams. I would feel a little bit more comfortable with Wanamaker at 20% ownership. I would likely just be trying to not be that far down. I assume you're putting Tatum in at the captain spot at the very least. After that, I would be trying to not get to Brad Wanamaker or Robert Williams and get the other 5 spots north of that. I just don't know how feasible it is. Do you like any of those guys for cash?
For cash, if I were to ever play Showdown cash, I'd make sure to try to get as many starters as I can.
Yeah.
And like go from there. That's a tough question. I hope my cash lineup wouldn't come down to that decision, but I guess I'd have to go with Wanamaker in the sense for cash just because of that ownership. But I wouldn't. I mean, I can easily see Williams to outscore Wanamaker. Like that can easily happen. So it depends on what your risk is there. If you're trying to win all your cash games, you can play Williams, and if you're just trying to match with others, maybe Wanamaker.
Yeah, looks like Williams is in the largest majority of my like most chalky lineups. If I sort, it looks like Brad Wanamaker shows up in like the most chalky lineup that also grades out well for me. So I would be looking at definitely Jason Tatum in the captain spot. I think you need to choose probably one of Brad Wanamaker or Robert Williams. I've got a lot of Kemba, a lot of Marcus Smart, one of Bam or Jimmy. Jay Crowder actually showing up there from a cash perspective. I don't have as much interest in GPPs, but yeah, it's got to be either Brad Wanamaker or Robert Williams. And at that point, I would be like, you know what? I'm going to skip cash today.
Yeah. I mean, for me, all things put together with like captain, for me, my favorite captain right now is probably Kemba Walker. Just hoping he comes back around to his all-star form. It's Kemba Walker. I know he hasn't crossed 40 fantasy points dating back in the last, I would say, 7 games. And he had one 44-point game against Toronto, but he's struggled quite a bit. I don't know if he's hurt or anything, but I don't expect him to go 2 of 15 from 3 for the rest of the series. He's a much better player than that. So I'm going to take my chances with Kemba Walker in the captain spot. He's in my most owned captain today is Kemba Walker. That's how high I am on him.
I love it. Like I said, second in my sim over the field on him. I am right there with you. So very much team Kemba Walker in the captain spot with 1 minute to go. 30 seconds to go even. So I appreciate you guys being here. We're still at 128 likes. If you haven't hit it yet, please hit that thumbs up. What time is Alex kicking off the Showdown NFL Live Before Lock? Let's see how quickly I can get there.
Hit that like button. Maybe you'll win the Showdown sell-off. Better chances. I've heard good things about that correlation.
There you go. 7:20 Eastern time. Alex and Kyle are going to be doing the NFL Showdown Live Before Lock show. Browns and Bengals tonight. It's a big one for Odell.
Don't you have some Showdown content in between that they could watch?
I do. I did a Showdown video based on my Showdown sims this morning. That got posted. Hasn't been any real news to make it wildly different. So I think everything that's in that video is still more than applicable. So you've got 20 minutes now that we're locked here. Go watch my video and then transition directly into Live Before Lock with Alex and Kyle.
Make sure to check out that free content as well at the Awesemo NFL channel. Give that Twitter handle a follow, and the Awesemo_com handle as well. Give that a follow and give us all the likes we can take. So we'll be back tomorrow, I think, for the first game of the Western Conference Finals. Good luck.
Yes, we will. Shout out to No House Advantage. We out of here. Subscribe to our podcast.